So, you want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Maybe you want to jump in for the first time ever with Yu-Gi-Oh! Or maybe you're like me who's been playing it since before you could even read. Well, depending on whether you've been playing for barely any time or way too long, I'm here today to help you with some very simple beginner tips and guides to how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! As well as how to play Master Duel, and the kind of little gimmicks that you should probably keep in mind. And if you want to know how professional I am at this game, I have made one deck so far on it, and it's done pretty well when it hasn't bricked. And on this channel, I have one game of Yu-Gi-Oh! On Tabletop Simulator, and that's about it on this channel of proof I can play Yu-Gi-Oh! And that video barely proves it, because it's just me teaching my friend, and it doesn't go to plan. But anyway, that's enough waffle from me. The first choice you get in this game once you've done the very beginning tutorial is to choose one of your free starter decks. This deck is quite nice to kind of help you start off with your collection. You've got Power of the Dragon for the OG Blue Eyes White Dragon Chads that are out there. You've got Synchro of Unity, which is your synchro option, kind of a bit like what Yusei had. And then you've got Link Generation. And as I'm an OG and I barely play anything past Pendulum and Link, I look at this deck and I feel like an utter boomer. So, in my eyes, I'd say Power of the Dragon is quite nice to go with, and a good Blue Eyes deck is a very simple and quite easy thing to run. May or may not be why I'm currently running it, but anyway, let's move on. And then Synchro of Unity is also a very good choice because it has Mystical Space Typhoon, which is an excellent card for your opponent's back row removal, and obviously having cards like that is just something that will be useful in any deck that you want to make in the future. Of course, if you know a lot about links, then that is still a very viable choice. It's just me personally, I don't think I've got the best knowledge to go in on details about that. So I would recommend either Power of the Dragon or Synchro of Unity if you are new to Yu-Gi-Oh! Once you've done this, I would recommend the first thing you do is the duel strategy tutorials, because these will basically just show you how to play the game as well as rewarding you with some outstanding cards like Regeki and Monster Reborn, which are so universally useful. You want to have these in your collection, and it's not worth using resources to mill to make them. Also, it means if you're like me and you're a bit rusty, that you can easily make a few slip-ups in these game modes before jumping into ranked and end up embarrassing yourself. Like right here, where, because I have a homebrew rule with my brother, that we can just put monsters in defense position face up, I forgot that was a thing, and here you will obviously see the mistake of I summon a 0 attack monster in face up attack position. What a twat. That's right, it's me, and I'm giving you advice to play this game. That's why you should keep watching. But yeah, as I said, these game modes allow you to kind of get to know how the game works and just get a rough feel for how everything works, how the board's laid out, that you can see that you've got 8,000 life points, that whoever goes first does not draw on their first turn and cannot attack on their first turn. The fact that you go from your draw phase, your standby phase, to your main phase 1, where you can place cards and activate effects, to the battle phase where you can attack, and then the optional main phase 2, where you can then, if you haven't already summoned, summon some more monsters, or activate some other effects, and then into the end phase, which will conclude your turn. But as you can see, the UI is actually quite nicely laid out. You have the graveyard just above your deck, and the banished zone, which is even harder to get cards back from, just above that. You've obviously got your 5 monster zones, your 5 spell and trap card zones, and you've got your 2 extra monster zones in the middle, where I would highly recommend you always put an extra deck card, like a Fusion, a Synchro, a Xerxes monster. You put them straight away there, because that is probably the best place to put them. And to quickly diverge for a second, you're about to see here a very common mistake that new people make, which I have done as an example here. So your opponent will activate a spell card, like Dragon's Gunfire, and then cards like Mystical Space Typhoon will be something that you might use to try and counter it. But sadly, this is not how it works, because of how the chain goes off and the speeds. So yes, your Mystical Space Typhoon will destroy Gunfire, but because of the fact that it's in a chain, Gunfire will still go off, and it will just make you look like a bit of a clown. So Mystical Space Typhoon, cards like that, use them to counter continuous spells or continuous traps, which are going to stay on the board, or maybe something that's set, so it's not already been played. Once you've done all the tutorials, you will be given a lot of gems, which you can then purchase packs with, and with these packs, when you get specific cards, secret packs, which are even more advanced into certain archetypes, as the normal packs are quite generalized. Something I'd recommend everyone buys, especially if you're going to play a lot of this game, is the Duel Pass, because this will get you a lot more gems and other resources for creating cards significantly faster, and there's also a pot of greed on it, because who doesn't want pot of greed as a little token in your matches? The other accessories are all kind of cosmetics, so if that's your thing, maybe spend a little bit of gems there, but I'd say focus most of your gems on packs. This is kind of where you'd want your main things, your main cheese, if you will. Now, although getting 10 packs is quite nice, so these normal packs, do be warned, if you put all your gems into one, then secret packs will come along, so you might want to just make sure that you keep some for those secret packs as well. While in the actual deck creation UI, you can see that you've got all your cards here, and this is the Blue Eyes deck I'm currently working on, and you can kind of move everything around nice and simply, and you've got the secret kind of like different things to see what kind of rarity cards are, and if they've got a 1 in the top left corner like Monster Reborn does, that just shows that the card is limited to 1 copy. And if you click on this little symbol just by the type bar, you can see every card in the game, and if you click on them, in the bottom left there is a generate button, which is basically the way of making cards, and with dismantling ones that you have got, you'll get certain rarity points which are in the top left corner of your screen for making decks. And finally, before we end this video, I think it'd be nice if I just talked over a few little kind of things of how stuff works. So monsters which are level 4 or lower can be normal summoned directly, and you get 1 normal summon per turn. 5 and 6 require 1 tribute summon, and 7 and above require 2. But usually if it's above 8, there's some form of special effect to get it out, or some special summon rules usually, but not always. But that's what happens with that. With spell cards, you have different kinds. You have normal spell cards, which are like the one in my hand currently. You have quick play spell cards, which you can use on your opponent's turn, as well as your own. You have continuous spell cards, which is a bit like the Call of the Haunted I placed, but it's a spell card, which will stay on the board and usually have like a passive effect. You have your field spell card, which is on the very left of the board. And then finally, you'll have ritual spell cards, which are used to summon the blue ritual monsters, which can be very good, but you do need them in your hand, which does mean it does require a bit of skill getting them both into your hand. With trap cards, you have normal trap cards, you have counter trap cards, which are the fastest and basically beat all of the chain. And then finally, you have continuous trap cards, like Call of the Haunted, which will stay on the board and have their passive effect. Monsters come in normal form, effect form, or as we just mentioned, ritual form, which go in your deck, but have special abilities. You have tuners, like the card I just summoned, and with tuners, their levels, and say plus the level 4 star, I would be able to summon a 7-star synchro. Xexes require 2 or more monsters of the same level. Links will tell you specifically what they require, and that's basically... Oh, and fusions will require polymerization and the monsters listed on them. And that's roughly how you use these cards. When a monster with more attack attacks a defense position monster, it will destroy it. If they're equal, nothing happens. And if your attack position monster has less attack than the defense position monster, you take the damage and nothing else happens. If both monsters are in attack position, whichever one has the highest attack, wins and destroys the other, dealing damage to your opponent. If they're equal, they are both destroyed, and if your opponent suddenly raises their one's attack through a trap card or something like that, your one is destroyed. But yeah, that's roughly everything that I'd need to go over for how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I thought I'd make this guide quite short and quite easy to understand, just so people can kind of look at it and think, oh, okay, cool, that's a nice little way into the game. But this is currently my account if you do want to give me a follow. As you can see, I'm not the highest rank at the moment, but then again, I have played 3 ranked matches as of making this guide, just to warm up and get back into the game. But if you have enjoyed it, like and subscribe, and I'm sure to get more content on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels out there as soon as I can, starting with a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. But want to see anything else? Let me know in the comments. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.